Michael Hernandez. February 2004. Southwood Middle School in Miami, Florida. It's lunchtime and 14-year-old Jamie Goff has just been asked by his best friend to step into the bathroom. Nothing unusual about that. They're best friends. They trust each other. But Michael Hernandez wasn't acting like a friend that day. He was acting like the serial killer he'd written about becoming in his journals. Inside that bathroom stall, Michael stabbed Jamie 42 times. 42 times. In the neck, chest, and back. He'd smuggled a hunting knife into school specifically for this purpose. Jamie was left to bleed out on the bathroom floor while Michael calmly returned to class and even participated in the school's search for the killer. When police found Michael's journals, they discovered something chilling. Detailed plans to kill multiple people, drawings of stabbings, and lists of potential victims. Jamie wasn't even the primary target. Michael had planned to kill another classmate but shifted to Jamie when the opportunity arose. Michael Hernandez was charged as an adult. His defense tried to argue insanity, citing schizophrenia and mental health issues. The jury rejected it. In November 2008, he was sentenced to life without parole, plus 30 years for attempted murder.
Tears out a piece of your heart, molds it into a baby, gives it to you, and says, cultivate this. And that's what you do. The penalty for the crimes is life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
Now imagine being Jamie's father, Jorge Goff. Your son trusted his best friend. Your 14-year-old boy went willingly into that bathroom because he had no reason to fear. And that trust was met with betrayal and violence beyond comprehension. At the sentencing hearing, Jorge stood and looked Michael Hernandez directly in the eye. And he said these words.
My little boy was my little friend too also, in which I raised and loved. And you took his life. Why, Michael? Why? Doesn't that hurt you? Don't you care? It hurts, Michael.
But here's what makes this so remarkable. Jorge Goff told the court that his family had forgiven Michael Hernandez on a spiritual level. Not because Michael deserved it, not because it made the pain go away, but because they needed to find personal peace.
You said you read the Bible. The seventh commandment is thou shalt not kill. I'm pretty sure you read that. But you did it. And you hurt a lot of people, brother. You hurt a lot of people. You hurt me bad. And I hope you find peace. It's up to you now because we have forgiven you. We have forgiven you.
Jorge made it absolutely clear. Forgiveness didn't mean absolution. He pleaded with the judge for the maximum sentence. He emphasized that true justice required Michael to face lifelong consequences. When Michael's case came up for resentencing in 2016, following a Supreme Court ruling on juvenile life sentences, the Goff family submitted another letter. They reiterated their spiritual forgiveness but warned that Michael remained a dangerous threat to society. They spoke of living in fear if he were ever released. This is the paradox of forgiveness. The Goffs forgave to free themselves from consuming hatred. They forgave to move forward. But they never forgot and they never stopped demanding accountability. Michael Hernandez died in prison in 2021 at age 31, before any parole review could occur. Jorge Goff's words of forgiveness, paired with his demand for justice, remain one of the most profound examples of a parent navigating the impossible terrain between mercy and accountability. Tarek Jackson. July 2015. A block party in Ypsilanti, Michigan. It should have been a night of community, music, and celebration. Instead, it became the scene of a gang-related execution. 16-year-old Tarek Jackson, affiliated with the BOH gang, approached 20-year-old Keandre Duff in that crowded street and fired multiple shots at close range. Keandre, a member of a rival gang, was struck in the chest and killed instantly. Tarek fled, but witnesses, surveillance footage, and ballistic evidence eventually led police to him. Tarek was charged as an adult with first-degree murder, armed robbery, weapons charges, and 12 counts of perjury for lying to investigators. In February 2017, he pleaded guilty to reduced charges and faced sentencing the following month. Keandre Duff's mother, Marquita Claiborne, had lost her son, a young man she described as loving and hardworking, someone who had overcome struggles to build a positive life. The void in her family was unimaginable. At Tariq Jackson's sentencing hearing on March 21, 2017, Marquita stood to deliver her victim impact statement. Through tears, she described her family as broken, and spoke about the systemic failures that enable these tragedies. Then she did something extraordinary. She looked at Tariq Jackson, the teenager who had shot and killed her son, and she forgave him. Out loud. In that courtroom. She said she believed Keandre would forgive him too.
Well, he forgives you. And I forgive you. I don't hate you.
She prayed for Tariq's mother and his future. Marquita's focus shifted from vengeance to healing and prevention.
Our whole world was turned upside down from that point. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because that when our children make these decisions out here, they don't understand how it affects everybody.
She wasn't denying her pain. She wasn't saying Tariq shouldn't face consequences. He was sentenced to 17 to 40 years in prison. But she chose to see the bigger picture. The cycle of violence, the lost young men, the systems that had failed both her son and the teenager who killed him. In an incredibly powerful moment, Marquita embraced Tariq Jackson's mother in that courtroom. Two mothers united by unfathomable grief, choosing compassion over hatred. Tariq, for his part, addressed the court with remorse.
First off, I just want to say sorry to the family of the victim. I wish the situation would have played out like that. I never thought that my choices and decisions would have affected so many people. No mother deserves to bury her son, and no mother deserves to see her son change. My bad choice led to a lose-lose situation for me, my family, and the family of the victim.
He warned other young people about gang life, saying,
So just to my brother, Jamar, and everybody, everybody around my age and other people that I be with, the life that we was living, being in gangs and all that other stuff, it ain't worth 16 years or death.
Marquita Claiborne's forgiveness wasn't about excusing murder. It was about refusing to let violence have the final word. It was about seeing a lost teenager, not just a killer. And it was about hoping that even in the midst of tragedy, something redemptive could emerge. Malia Sotelo. December 2022. Green Bay, Wisconsin. 18-year-old Jack McDonough had just returned home from a brief rehab stint for opioid addiction. He was trying to turn his life around. He had a mother, Carrie Harrison, who had dedicated her entire life to him, her only child. That same day, 16-year-old Malia Sotelo sold Jack a counterfeit Percocet pill via Facebook Messenger. The pill was laced with fentanyl. Jack took it when he got home. By the next morning he was dead. Malia's story is complicated. She grew up in chaos, a mother with severe drug addiction, violence, neglect, and repeated failures by Child Protective Services. By age 13 she was selling marijuana to survive. By her sophomore year of high school she'd escalated to selling fentanyl-laced pills widely, including to other students. The Brown County Drug Task Force had actually conducted a controlled buy from Malia 3 days before Jack's death. They knew she was selling fentanyl. But they chose not to arrest her immediately because they wanted to build a stronger case against her suppliers. Jack died during that window. In July 2024, 17-year-old Malia stood before Brown County Circuit Judge Bo Legiois for sentencing on charges of first-degree reckless homicide and possession with intent to deliver fentanyl. Prosecutors sought 10 years in prison plus 10 years of supervision. Malia read a prepared statement. She apologized for the damage to the community and the pain she'd inflicted, acknowledging that no words could fix what she'd done.
I want to now sincerely apologize for the damage I've caused to our community and the pain I've inflicted. I know no words can fix what I've done. I'm sorry.
Then Carrie Harrison, Jack's mother, stood to deliver her victim impact statement. She confronted the irreversible loss of her everything, her only child, the person she dedicated her life to. Carrie held Malia directly accountable. She also criticized the Drug Task Force for failing to intervene sooner. But then, in a moment that stunned the courtroom, Carrie Harrison forgave Malia.
And I do believe that you, Malia, are responsible for Jack's death. However, I also believe that you are deserving of forgiveness. And I do forgive you, Malia. I forgive you because I know that Jack would forgive you.
After the hearing, Carrie reflected on her feelings. She spoke about the strange parallel between them. I lost my son, my only child. And here is Malia, who didn't have a mother. So, it's like I'm childless, she's motherless, and we're in this situation together, but against each other. Carrie's forgiveness came from a place of profound empathy. She saw Malia not just as her son's killer, but as another victim of systemic failures. A child who never had a real mother, who was neglected and traumatized, who made terrible choices but who might still be redeemable. She expressed hope that Malia could become the person Jack could have been, had he been given a second chance. Malia was sentenced to 10 years in prison, followed by 10 years of supervision.
Defense, I am going to sentence you to what the state's recommending, 10 years of initial confinement plus 10 years of extended supervision. That would be on the 2 Class C felonies concurrent. On the Class E felony.
Carrie Harrison's grace in that moment, choosing to see the humanity in her son's killer, remains a powerful testament to a mother's capacity for forgiveness even in the face of unbearable loss. Gary Ridgway. The Green River Killer. One of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Confessed to murdering at least 71 women, though he was convicted of 49, between 1982 and 1998.
I killed the 48 women listed in the state's second amended information. I picked prostitutes as my victims because I thought I could kill as many of them as I wanted without getting caught. Is that true?
Yes.
His victims were vulnerable, primarily sex workers, underage runaways, and transients. He targeted them because he viewed them as garbage and believed they wouldn't be missed. His method was consistent and horrifying. He'd solicit women, engage in sexual activity, then strangle them to death. He frequently returned to the dump sites to have sex with their decomposing bodies. By the time Gary Ridgway was arrested in November 2001, he'd evaded capture for nearly 2 decades. DNA evidence and microscopic paint spheres from his workplace finally linked him to the murders. In exchange for avoiding the death penalty, he agreed to plead guilty to 48 counts of murder and revealed details about the crimes and body locations. On December 18, 2003, the sentencing hearing began. Over 2 days, more than 40 family members delivered victim impact statements. The courtroom was filled with raw, seething rage. Families called Ridgway evil, the emissary of death, and garbage, throwing his own dehumanizing language back at him.
Your memory, when it comes to all of the women you took, was gone. Our memory is not. In your words, you said that they didn't mean anything to you, but she meant everything to us.
She was a mother, she was a wife, she was a sister, and we miss her.
I wish for him to have a long, suffering, cruel death.
He's gonna go to hell, and that's where he belongs.
Brothers wept over failing to protect their little sisters. Parents described decades of agony, of not knowing what happened to their daughters, of finally learning the truth only to discover their children had been discarded like trash. Gary Ridgway sat largely stoic throughout, occasionally smirking, wiping away tears during particularly poignant moments but showing no real remorse. And then Robert Rule stood up. Robert's daughter, Linda Jane Rule, had run away from home at 14. She'd had a troubled adolescence but stayed in sporadic contact with her family. She disappeared in September 1982. Her body was found in the Green River. She was 16 years old. Robert Rule looked at Gary Ridgway, the man who had murdered his daughter, who had violated her body after death, who had thrown her away like she meant nothing, and he said this.
Live up to what I believe, and that is what God says to do, and that's to forgive. And he doesn't say to forgive just certain people, he says to forgive all. So you are forgiven, sir.
He wasn't forgiving Ridgway for Ridgway's sake. He was forgiving him to reclaim power from the killer, to find personal peace, to refuse to let hatred consume him. He later said that holding on to anger is like drinking poison. And here's what happened. Gary Ridgway, the stone-faced serial killer who had shown almost no emotion throughout 2 days of victim impact statements, broke down and cried. Robert Rule's words shattered him. Robert later reflected that while Ridgway's tears might have stemmed from his troubled childhood, true remorse seemed absent. But forgiveness was essential for Robert's own healing. He said, I felt sorry for him. He looks so pathetic even though he's a killer. This act of radical forgiveness, rooted in Robert Rule's Christian faith, inspired others. Rebecca DeMoro, mother of an unrelated murder victim, credited Robert's statement with shifting her from vengeance to compassion. Gary Ridgway was sentenced to 48 consecutive life sentences without parole, plus 480 years. He remains in prison. Robert Rule found peace through his act of forgiveness, not because Ridgway deserved it, but because Robert deserved to be free from the poison of hatred. Amber Geiger. September 6, 2018. Dallas, Texas. Botham Shem Jean, a 26-year-old accountant from St. Lucia, was sitting in his apartment eating vanilla ice cream and watching TV after a long day of work. He was unarmed. He was home. Amber Geiger, a 30-year-old Dallas police officer, had just finished a 13.5-hour shift. She was still in uniform. She was distracted by a phone call with her romantic partner, and she walked into the wrong apartment. Geiger lived one floor below Botham. But somehow she entered his fourth-floor unit, believing it was her own third-floor apartment. When she saw Botham sitting in his living room, she claimed she thought he was an intruder. She drew her service weapon and fired twice, striking him once in the chest. Botham Jean died shortly after at the hospital.
I still felt like that guy was going to kill me. I wish he was alive.
The incident sparked immediate controversy and protests. Botham's family and activists accused police of racial bias. The small amount of marijuana found in Botham's apartment during the investigation was seen as an attempt to smear his reputation. Witnesses reported hearing knocking and a woman's voice saying, "Let me in," before the shots, contradicting Geiger's account. Amber Geiger was arrested 3 days later and eventually charged with murder, the first such conviction for a Dallas officer since 1973. On October 1, 2019, a jury convicted her. The next day they sentenced her to 10 years in prison, far below the maximum of 99 years or life.
We, the jury, find unanimously that the defendant did not cause the death of Botham Jean while under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from an adequate cause, and assess the defendant's punishment at 10 years imprisonment in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
10 years, and my son and Botham and other sons are dead forever. We did not get justice, and this is not fair. How many of us is it going to take? There should be.
At the sentencing hearing, Botham's family delivered victim impact statements. His mother, Allison, spoke about the devastating loss and criticized the Dallas Police Department. His father, Bertram, expressed forgiveness but wished for a harsher sentence. And then Botham's 18-year-old younger brother, Brant Jean, stood up. What happened next shocked the courtroom and ignited national debates about forgiveness, race, and justice. Brant looked directly at Amber Geiger and said,
"If you truly are sorry, I know I can speak for myself. I forgive you. And I know if you go to God and ask Him, He will forgive you."
He said he didn't want her to go to prison and encouraged her to give her life to Christ. Then, with the judge's permission, Brant asked to hug Amber Geiger.
I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? Please?
Yes.
The two embraced in that courtroom for about a minute. Geiger sobbed. Many observers, including the judge, were in tears. Brant's act of forgiveness was rooted in his Christian faith. For him, it was about mercy, about choosing love over hatred, about healing his own pain. But the reaction was deeply divided. Some praised Brant's gesture as a powerful act of grace. Others were troubled by it, feeling it overshadowed demands for systemic accountability in cases involving police violence against black individuals. There were concerns that emphasizing forgiveness might let institutions off the hook for addressing deeper issues of racism and police brutality. In later interviews, Brant reflected that his gesture helped him heal, though he still grapples with the loss of his brother. Amber Geiger's 10-year sentence sparked protests, with many viewing it as too lenient. She was denied parole in October 2024 and won't be eligible again until 2026. In November 2024, a civil jury awarded Botham's family $98.65 million in damages, though collection is unlikely. Brant Jean's forgiveness remains one of the most controversial and discussed moments in recent legal history, a teenager choosing mercy in the face of unimaginable loss, while a nation debated whether forgiveness can coexist with demands for justice.